We are live and a very warm welcome to everybody. I would like to ask Dev Khanna to take over to start this meeting.
A very warm welcome to all. I think we have 336 people on the Zoom call. So warm welcome to all our attendees, all our dear guests, our principal, our HOD, and the whole team of Jai Hind College Entrepreneurship Scale and Entrepreneurship Cell and Skill Hub Global Entrepreneurship Summit 2021, presented by HDFC Bank, powered by Red FM 93.5, co-sponsored by Tika by Finology, in association with Novello, logistics partner AirSearch, and news and media partner Startup Indian Startup News. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't know when the Mumbai Metro is going to start, but we do know when the keynote seminar is going to begin, and the time is now. So, to have a very warm welcome, may I invite Manav to take over?
Introducing our associations, Global Entrepreneurship Summit 2021 in association with Digital India, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, National E-Governance Division, Maharashtra State Innovation Society, Make in India, Skill India, Startup India, AWS Activate, Enactus, Vadwani Foundation, Startup Grind, Unicorn India Ventures, 314 Capital, and Lead Angels. Calling Manav Lakhupota to start the ceremony with the virtual lighting of the lamp.
Right under our unsuspecting noses, a massive evolution is occurring, ladies and gentlemen. Innovation governs the rule of prosperity today. Throughout our lovely journey of 2020 and 2021, the team has worked really hard. And also, let us present a lovely, lovely Jai Hind song for all of us to start with a warm welcome.
मिटाकर हर अंधेरों को वो किरणें लौट आएंगी। मेरे दोस्त तू ना घबरा कि सुबह फिर जगाएगी। मिटाकर हर अंधेरों को वो किरणें लौट आएंगी। मेरे दोस्त तू ना घबरा, सुबह फिर जगाएगी। छाया है जो ये तूफान, वो एक दिन थम जाएगा। ना टूटा है ना टूटेगा कभी हौसला अपना। There won't be any sorrow, there'll be a better tomorrow. There won't be any sorrow, there'll be a better tomorrow. There won't be any sorrow, there'll be a better tomorrow. There won't be any sorrow, there'll be a better tomorrow. सपना था जो आएगा वो अपना है ना जो कल था वो उभरेगा जो आएगा सुहाना है खिलेगा फिर समा अपना बहारें मुस्कुराएंगी ऐ मेरे दोस्त तू ना घबरा कि सुबह फिर जगाएगी There won't be any sorrow There'll be a better tomorrow There won't be any sorrow There'll be a better tomorrow There won't be any sorrow There'll be a better tomorrow There won't be any sorrow There'll be a better tomorrow मिटाकर हर अंधेरों को वो किरणें लौट आएंगी ऐ मेरे दोस्त तू ना घबरा वो सुबह फिर जगाएगी छाया है जो ये तूफान वो एक दिन थम जाएगा ना टूटा है ना टूटेगा कभी हौसला अपना There won't be any sorrow There'll be a better tomorrow There won't be any sorrow There'll be a better tomorrow There won't be any sorrow There'll be a better tomorrow There won't be any sorrow There'll be a better tomorrow
What a beautiful video, and with those beautiful words, there will be a beautiful tomorrow. Absolutely. I think with that, we all miss our college. We miss traveling by local trains, reaching there out early in the morning, attending so many events, and also like a flashback to the Global Entrepreneurship Summit last year in the month of January. Ladies and gentlemen, technology has completely refashioned the way our world moves, from gradual reliance on electronic gadgets in individual households to businesses and government employing all sort of digitized data and each tech advancements to undertake inconceivably complex operations. I think with this, the cybercrime has also been increasing, and that's the reason we have to be updated with the time. The Mumbai branch has also opened various cybercrime branches across the city. Even the landscape of entrepreneurship is rapidly reconstructing over and over itself, becoming a tougher space to crack. I think with the pandemic coming in, our priorities have completely changed. I guess before it was roti, kapda, and makan. And now I think we can add good internet connection and all the digital data that's very important for all of us. Keeping pace with this hustle and bustle is as necessary as it is difficult. And it has subsequently become a non-negotiable need for students to keep adding new skills and diverse technical knowledge to the repertoire. With this mindset, the Jai Hind College eCell and Skill Hub was constructed in the year 2007 to establish a healthy entrepreneurial ecosystem and transform job seekers into the job makers of tomorrow through consistent reskilling and empirical learning opportunities. To create awareness about the growing entrepreneurial interest and further boost this space, the eSkill and Skill Hub has been home to multiple successful ventures and has held various rewarding events over the years. The Global Entrepreneurship Summit, held annually since the year 2016, is one such colossal event. Working towards the same has been the prima facie aim of the Jai Hind Entrepreneurship Summit each year by arranging the upskilling workshops, insightful masterclass, captivating speaker sessions, and the startup competition, among others. The summit is designed to provide a platform to promote the spirit of entrepreneurship among young minds, allow building entrepreneurs and young startups to convert their innovative, disruptive, groundbreaking ideas into the leading, preeminent businesses of the future, and ultimately, at the end, boost the growing startup economy of India. Ladies and gentlemen, with great honor, I would like to invite the principal of Jai Hind College, Dr. Ashok Waria, for his opening message for the keynote session.
Thank you, Dev, for those words. And as Jain College is organizing this global entrepreneurship summit under this adverse condition when the second wave is on, expected to be more difficult. And it was very appropriate for you to play that song again. That particular song was made, because I wanted to do it. But I wanted that Jain College, it completely done by the Jain College, starting from the lyrics to that of the singing and everything. Idea was that anytime it can be played to encourage. So it is not just for the COVID situation. Whenever students of Jain College, anytime in their life, they face any kind of hurdles, they should think about that particular song. And yes, the sun will definitely shine. So with the discipline and all that, the things will happen. Today it's really global. I'm thankful to you, Dev. Thankful to Mr. Khanna. Thankful to Mr. Bhaskar. I don't know the students. Are you aware? At 5 o'clock in the morning, Mr. Bhaskar in London, in the cold country environment, which is more worse, there's a lockdown over there, and is joining this particular virtual platform to be with you so that this global summit will really will do what it has planned. Now, you may be wondering what this keynote speakers and what I'm talking about. We were just talking before this particular process started is that how difficult the situation is. But I think the entrepreneurs are born when there are difficulties. If everything is fine, everything is working, then what kind of new business you can think of? And therefore, entrepreneur is normally seeking the kind of difficulties, the problems, and that particular entrepreneur thinks about the solutions for it. So I think when the things are getting locked up or people are worried about it, this global summit will unlock many kind of problems which people face. And there will be many budding entrepreneurs which will be born after this particular summit or during this particular summit. And Mr. Bhaskar or Mr. Khanna, they are will support this kind of ventures. And I'm sure that there will be many more who are joining this particular platform, not only mentoring them, but also you'll find encouraging them and will show that the path of the entrepreneurship. So students, you are really lucky that we do not at the Jain College think that the hurdles are hurdles. We always look at them as a new opportunities. And opportunities don't come your way, we grab it. I always say at my orientation address that in Jain College, opportunities hang. And therefore, it is very important for you to grab. And for this, all the students who are joining this particular platform, now is the time for you to make the opportunities under this particular kind of situation. Today, you will find the world is of tech. You have to be tech savvy. You have to develop new skills. And Jain College is bringing these new skills at your doorsteps. It is you who have to realize it. You have to understand this and to grab it. I must thank at this particular time, it was said, like whether they mentioned that, where the Jain College will be organizing such kind of event. Offline, yes, we were able to get that. But I think this is a good opportunity to get even the people. Otherwise, how do you expect Mr. Bhaskar, sitting there in London would have joined in Jain College? He had to travel all the way and then he would have joined. So the technology, how you can use it to overcome all the problems is a solution. But we will not stop there. I consider my students have really done the wonderful thing. You saw how many sponsors, how many people are supporting this, even the government agencies. The students have really gone the way out, I will say, under this difficult situation and met the people, and everybody is encouraging. One must understand that. People are actually supporting this. People want the India to be progressing. Economic condition has to be improved, and that will be done only by the young minds and the young entrepreneurs and the young startups. So with that, I must thank also the Raki ma'am to take this particular initiative. She asked me, can we? And I said, of course. Why are you saying can we? Because we say I will and I can, and therefore you will and you can. And together, On this global summit, it is not just any more of Jain College. We don't believe that we will keep everything with the Jain College. We want this particular thing to reach out to everybody on this particular planet called Earth, our Mother Earth, to give this kind of opportunity. And we will have more and more people coming together, bonding together with Jain College in this endeavor to ensure that all the students, young minds, not only the students, any entrepreneur who will be giving the opportunity to come in our incubator, accelerator, mentors, we will ensure that they will be given. I just want to mention this. Recently, I was in the Nirmala Niketan Social, Work College, and they have the social sciences, and they were talking about the problem. And I said, you come to Jain College, any kind of social entrepreneurship we are doing already, and we will be very happy to be collaborating with that. So it is not necessary that we have to collaborate only with the foreign universities or foreign agencies, but we can do that even in India and make our India strong. Jain College is, as a principal, I'm saluting the nation. Jain College salutes the nation. And with this, today, of course, it has opened already. So though there was a virtual lightning ceremony and all that, but at the same time, I consider this particular platform is giving opportunity to all. You just come to Jain College, become the part of Jain family and grab this opportunity. Once more, I want to thank my student, which is my strength, and also the faculty like, Raki ma'am and the BMS, as well as the other teachers who are there on this particular platform. They are the one, the pillars of this kind of activities which are taken up. Hats off to them, taking this kind of challenges and making it successful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think, yes, being a part of the Jai Hind family, I think I can say that it has always been so welcoming, right? Throughout the year also, just before, the pandemic, right? So we thought that everything is just going to go haywire, right? A lot of mess is going to be created, a lot of chaos is going to be there. But at all times, there was clear communication. And yes, as you pointed out, new opportunities were coming our way every now and then, just like the research paper and this summit as well. And I can't just thank the institution for that. I can't just stop thanking the institution for that. With that, now I would like to invite the faculty convener, Dr. Rakesh Sharma, for her opening message for the keynote session.
Thank you, Dev. Thank you very much. So over the years, Jai Hind has always been an entrepreneur in all his activities. Like, when Sir said, I'm an entrepreneurial ecosystem, he always wanted that we should think like an entrepreneur, whatever we do, even in our college, whether it is activities, our work. So that's a kind of ecosystem over the years we have established. The only thing which I want to share right now is now whatever we are doing and the kind of support we have got, and we were able to do to get some of the good ventures which has successfully are doing well. With this year, we have started last year, in fact, February, we have started our own incubator and accelerator center. So at this platform, we are extending our support to all the other institutes and the startups from different other colleges who want any kind of a support are welcome to be a part of incubation center. We have always got a second cohort of incubatees who have enrolled for a virtual mentorship program, and it's ongoing. There are various students from Chennai and various other places who have joined the incubation center. So that is our initiative. It's not about, as the name itself signifies, it's not about our college. It's all about anyone who wants support, and in whichever way we can, of course, with the support of all these stakeholders who have always supported us from industry to take such kind of initiatives ahead. So that is what we are trying to do, and we believe in ensuring that together only we can grow. It cannot be an isolated system, only a Jai Hind college or only our students. It's all about, because in the current situation, it's a need of an hour. If we don't wake up, if we all don't collaborate, then it's not going to give us the right results. We have seen so many students in different cities. Unfortunately, they don't have that kind of support system. And if the institutes who have access to that, if they don't hold hands of those institutes and the students, I think we cannot expect all the changes to be done by the government. So we ourselves are responsible to create an Atmanirbhar Bharat, and really work with the passion. No one else can do it unless we think of doing something on our own. And that is what a spirit every Jai student has, every team member has, all our faculty, everyone, all of us work together, and we believe in ensuring that all can collaborate, even with other centers and institutes, and work towards creating an entrepreneurial ecosystem in our country, which will help our country to compete and to revive us for whatever problems and we are facing at a national level. So that's it from my side, because it's a day for all our keynote speakers who are really who are leading experts and who have joined us. And I welcome once again to all our speakers, and I also congratulate the startups who have been shortlisted today and they were going for the elimination round. Just a quick fact review: we have startups, around 122 plus startups who had applied for the Global Entrepreneurship Summit, out of which 25 were shortlisted in the first round, and 5 will go for the finals, which is happening today evening. I thank all the stakeholders, all the sponsors, all the government organizations who have taken effort to come up. Yesterday, we had a key procurement person from Startup India who was helping, who was suggesting and giving a session on the key procurement issues. And how startups can work on it. So those are the kind of support we have got. And thank you very much, Dave. And thanks to all the organizing committee, and thanks to all the attendees who have joined in for the session. Thank you very much. Over to you, Dave. These
Thank
are
you
all, you're introducing. Okay, Dave, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. I think, yes, as you pointed out really correctly, that India is together growing, right? In this particular year also, like, we have new trends coming up, new companies stepping in, the Sensex hitting the 50,000 point. And just like a few minutes ago, like half an hour ago, we have Mukesh Ambani again becoming the richest Asian after beating a Chinese entrepreneur. So I think, yes, and I can proudly say, being a Jai Hind student, we have contributed as well, because every day we're trying to upskill ourselves. We're trying to do we are trying to explore new possibilities, and it has only been possible because of the institution, because of our mentors. So we would like to thank Mr. Vishal Tiwari sir, P.K. Mishra sir, Vibhav Parekh sir, Ismail Akbani, Josefa Konarwala, Ritesh Mehta, Moiz Lakirwala, Anurag Ramdasa, Rishabh Garg, and Amit Jain. We would also like to thank all our dear attendees who are here. We eagerly look forward to having you with us for more such kind of events. And I think I have to say this out really loud, that during the time when a lot of us were just watching the television, during the time when we were all just, trying different kind of trends in this year during the lockdown, there were a few students, there were a few, mentors, there were all these faculty members who were really working hard towards putting this up as a successful event. So I'd like to, congratulate the whole team, because I suppose this is a great success. And if Raki ma'am, you'd like to say something about the team.
See, it's the team what matters. Huh? So it's not, as what sir rightly said, it's not one person. I mean, it's ultimately all together who can put up something like this, and that's what we believe in: synergy. We believe in working together, and we believe in overcoming all the crises. And that's what the team did. And yes, so that's what, I think Siddharth will speak about the team later on. But as every single person is working day in, day out, we were on calls till 1:32 a.m. I think last night they have not slept because it's virtual. And every single person was working very hard to ensure that the people go in the right breakout room. I mean, I hope you all understand that this is the first time we are working into a virtual environment like this, taking this kind of an event at a scale, working, ensuring that the right sheet goes to all the judges, the right startup go in the right breakout room, the session starts in the morning. So a lot of things which are there, the money is, the sponsor should come in because there are expenses which is to be incurred. There are legal things. So if you see, I mean, I would like, so we have a vice president for legal also, because compliance and risk is an important area. We have finance, we have outreach, we have events, what kind of things which can done so that we can get a desired outcome, media, public relations, how we can reach out to people. We have incubator and accelerator centers, so we have a vice president for that also, and operations executions is a key. And of course, we have a student president, Siddharth Jalan, who has ensured that that every single thing is done in the best possible way, and it should have an experience, because this itself is becoming a startup for us, to have the entire event done virtually with similar experience and better outcomes.
Absolutely. I think kudos to the whole team, and also the mentors have always guided us as well throughout this journey, and with their words of wisdom as well. So anything, I think, Raki ma'am, you'd like to say a few lines about them?
They are the key. Dave, mentors are really, really important, because it's the mentors who take the session ahead, the startups ahead. Even yesterday we had a panel discussion. It was very clearly identified. Sometimes you need an external person to intervene and give you that kind of perspective. So all the mentors who have come on board are really helping us out. Even otherwise also, when we do our virtual mentorship program, even during the Global Entrepreneurship Summit, we have a advisory board also who's helping us out with the entire summit. So that is, of course, it's a mentor, it's a full team of all these stakeholders who are helping us out on a regular basis and guiding us to take some things like this at a larger scale.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And now I'd also like to invite the student president of Jai Hind College eCell and Skill Hub, Siddharth Jalan, to say a few words.
Thank you so much, Dev. Just to keep this a little short and talk about my team that has supported me and been my backbone this entire time. Just a small quote: coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is a success. And I think they've been very instrumental in putting everything up today. And I just wish everyone all the best, and I hope we have a great event. Thank you, Dev.
Thank you so much, Siddharth. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's start with our keynote speaker. So with great honor, we would like to invite, we have the privilege of having with us Mr. Bhaskar Majumdar, a native of IIT Kharagpur and an AMP from Harvard. Mr. Bhaskar's career trajectory is as vast and diverse as they come. Mr. Bhaskar is the founder and managing partner at Unicorn India Ventures, a Mumbai-based VC fund. He's had a seat at both the tables by being a seasoned media and technology executive and entrepreneur as well. And as well as an established early stage investor and advisor within the UK and India. Through Unicorn Ventures, he has invested in over 20 businesses with a combined equity value of $3 billion and growing rapidly. Prior to being an investor and entrepreneur, he has held senior corporate positions with Times of India, Z Telefilms, and Alta Vista UK. He brings an international flavor to Unicorn India Ventures and would enable early stage business in their international rollout strategy, as well as being potential targets for international business looking at strategic entry into India. He's had several entrepreneurial ventures to his name's credit. In 2000, he started his first entrepreneurial venture, Recreate Solutions. He has since been an investor in a number of technology and media early stage businesses through his proprietary fund, Health Ventures, and has invested in half a dozen startups in the UK and India across media technologies, PWAS, and social segments. He has recently added another notch to his belt, ladies and gentlemen, having authored a book that's to be published in the month of March of 2021, entitled Everything Starts from Nothing, in which he endeavors to capture the essence of the startup ecosystem from his first-hand experience and help navigate those who wish to get their foot through the door. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting to you Mr. Bhaskar Majumdar. Thank you so much, sir, for joining in. Over to you. Sir, you're on mute. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Dear Dr. Vadia, Dr. Sharma, uh, Rakesh, and the Jai Hind family. Thank you for having me in the Entrepreneurship Summit. As Dr. Vadia has said, it is 5 a.m. in the morning in London. But nonetheless, when I was told of this, I said I must speak to you. Because for me, it is a privilege of having discussions with the brightest minds of our country, studying at premier institutes like you. The discussions I have with students around their business ideas, around their perception of the new India, and how they view the world fills me with optimism for the future. The sheer opportunity to experience the positive vibe that is created when I meet the younger generation makes me wonder at the possibilities that we as a nation have. For me, this is the brightest aspect of being a VC because on a daily basis, I'm able to meet younger minds. I've been told by the team that I am to speak on the topic, the startup story of startup backers. I think this is so true. What I just heard about creating an event, it is indeed a startup, and I can very well empathize with it because it is events like this and activities like this that ingrain the entrepreneurship and the startup spirit in students. In my case, Unicorn India Ventures, the fund that I co-founded, we have till date invested in over 25 businesses and are looking to invest in another 15 businesses from our new fund. We are not the first check writer, but we are the first institutional investor. Unicorn Ventures, which I started in 2016, and while we have been backing startups, our journey has been akin to that of a startup itself. Just as in a startup, the most important aspect, according to me, is to find a co-founder. So also for me, finding my co-founder and partner, Mr. Anil Joshi, who some of you know because he's been a regular at Jai Hind, was also the most important and key element of the journey. Founders often make the mistake that co-founders have to be from similar backgrounds, someone with whom you can share a beer or have a coffee. I think this is not correct. Co-founders need to be complementary, not only in skill sets, but in temperament as well. People who know Anil and me will clearly find that we are chalk and cheese to the outside world, and this bodes well for a partnership. Like in a startup, we had to find our own niche within the VC marketplace, and this had to fit in with our skill sets. It's very important for anyone who embarks on a startup journey to understand and analyze what their core skill set is. For example, in our case, we are an early stage investor because we enjoy the challenge of working very closely with entrepreneurs and enabling them to scale up. We enjoy scaling a company from 0 to 1 rather than coming in later as the company scales from 1 onwards. Like in a startup, we have slowly built our brand and built out the team. The initial team members came to join Unicorn Fund because of the founders, as it is the founders who were larger than the company. Slowly, the fund grew, and the time has now come for the fund to outgrow its founders. We hope that in a few more years, people will forget who the founders of Unicorn, and akin to a startup, it will be Unicorn India Ventures that will be remembered. My journey has been quite interesting and varied. After passing out of IIT, within a year, and this was in the early 1990s, I quit my job with a very large multinational FMCG and tried my hand at entrepreneurship. I started a business in 1991 in cable television in Kolkata. While I had very correctly spotted the opportunity, I was a novice in business, coming from a family of doctors, and Kolkata wasn't the place for it. In less than a year, I realized that the business wouldn't succeed, and I joined the media industry with Times of India. I had failed as an entrepreneur even before I had started. In India, in those days, failure was a stigma. Gladly it is changing now for the better. But one must remember that failures and success are literally two sides of the same coin. Being a founder is fraught with challenges and risks, and with risk comes failure. Always remember, and this is something which is very close to my heart, that a business fails, an entrepreneur never fails. I was not cowed down, but I realized that it is important for me to hone my skills in the real business world and then relaunch myself. I think this is another aspect I personally believe in. Of course, the market is rife with success stories of people like Mark Zuckerberg, like Bill Gates, like Bhavesh, who started straight from colleges. We at Unicorn have also backed teams from colleges. But my personal view is one needs to hone oneself in the business world, understand what it takes and what real business is all about in order to lower the failure rates. After a successful corporate career across 3 continents and having been in global leadership positions and board directorships of listed companies, I started again in 2001. Started a media tech company called Recreate Solutions, which were backed by some of the largest VCs in the world. One of the challenges I grappled with when I started was the sheer anonymity of being a startup founder. I was in a senior global leadership position and enjoyed the trappings of the corporate world. When I started again in 2001, I was suddenly bereft of the corporate calling card. In every discussion, I was on the defensive, and I tried to draw credibility of my past corporate career. I would fumble when asked what I was doing now and would qualify the answer by taking the names of the big VCs who had backed the startup and how many people were there in the company, because I had self-doubt and was trying to draw on the credibility of these brand names. I'm sure people asking me the questions could perceive my discomfort I had in answering them. This was the manifestation of an inherent insecurity that I had. It took me around 2 years to grow out of this mindset, and once I made peace with myself, there was no looking back. Always remember, as some of you would embark on the entrepreneurship journey, that the journey of a startup founder is very lonely, and one has to get used to being a nobody. Those of you who will be working for large enterprises will be known by the company you're working for. You will be carrying the visiting cards of the company, and the company will provide you the status symbol. But then, those of you who will be on your own, you will have to get used to this anonymity and not being known. This is one of the challenges that young founders face, because they will see some of their batchmates and college friends in large enterprises and organizations, some of whom are sponsors of your show today, while they will be out there in their own. During my days at Recreate Solutions, I was in my early 30s and I had a growing family. But I spent a lot of time all over the world, as Rakesh very clearly knows, with salespeople, meeting customers, recruiting and motivating teams globally. I had my son who was born, and I couldn't spend the formative years of his life with him. As a founder, you must be aware that there is no clear demarcation between the home and office, and the highs and lows of the journey is felt by the entire family. Having the family support is therefore a must, and that is why early stage investors like us spend a lot of time trying to gauge the family aspect of the entrepreneur, because this has a direct impact on his risk taking and his sustainability potential. The close family, the parents, later the spouses, and the close friends, their backing is a must for anyone to embark on this startup journey. If I am to be asked one single factor that was important for me to be successful as an entrepreneur, for me, it is the fact that I could take a knock, get up, brush myself, and be at it again. We all have heard of the intelligent quotient, the emotional quotient, the social quotient. But the make and break quotient for me to be a startup founder is what I call the adversity quotient. It is the measure of the ability to go through a rough patch without losing one's bearings. For an early stage founder, every day, every single day, adversity stares at you in the face. And it is your ability to take it on the chin and move on that will be your sustainability factor. The strangest thing is that in the life of a startup, the highs and lows are experienced within hours. From euphoria to despair, back again to euphoria, are all a part of the daily cycle of an entrepreneur. A good call with a client who you think might buy your untested product sends you into an emotional high, only to be shattered within minutes as you get a rejection for apparent no reason from an investor whose funding was a must for you to be able to complete the product that your client wants. Nowadays, if you open any business newspaper or magazine, success stories of startups are aplenty. Platforms such as Forbes under 30, Forbes 30 under 30, Fortune's 40 under 40 give quick and instant gratification for entrepreneurs, satiating their egos. Don't get me wrong, such platforms matter as they help to motivate and celebrate all the risk and hard work of entrepreneurship. But this media hype in recent years has added a glamour quotient to startups and entrepreneurship. This has led to a lot of students and executives wanting to become entrepreneurs because of the perceived coolness associated with it. So, my young friends, I embrace entrepreneurship. It is truly a state of mind and take businesses and nations forward. But you must get into it knowing all the hardships and all the negatives that come with it. Do not get into it for merely the glamour quotient and trying to get your name into the Economic Times and other magazines and newspapers. Today, when all of us see large enterprises, large companies, we tend to be awestruck by them. But always remember that everything started from nothing. In fact, this is the title of the book that I'm writing, which will be published next week. This book speaks on how to be successful in the very difficult emerging startup battleground. So without taking any more time, because there are other speakers much more qualified than me to speak, I'm going to just say one thing. Wear your passion in your sleeves. Become an entrepreneur. Do dream big, but with your eyes open. Thank you. It's been a privilege for me to join you guys.
I think we're all going to look forward to the book that's coming in next week. Everything, everything starts from nothing. And that's something. Thank you so much, sir, for those lovely words. I think, it is an honor to have you here and share all of that from your experience. I think we can only learn from every step, from every words that you've shared. Thank you so much for being over here. If we have any questions, yes, as Siddharth has mentioned, if we have any questions, we can acknowledge them in the chat section. And I would be asking that to Bhaskar, sir. So I think we can give them like 30 seconds to just type it out. Okay. So Shivansh has asked a question, Bhaskar sir. Do you mind answering that? What is your advice to young and budding entrepreneurs who are stuck in the ideation stage and want to turn their idea into a venture?
It's a natural question for anyone who wants to be a startup founder or an entrepreneur. You will come across a time when you will think that every idea that I'm coming up with, someone in the world has already done it. And it is very frustrating. For me, and I keep saying it again and again, is it is the execution that matters. It is not the idea that is the real differentiator. In fact, more often, there is a Mark Zuckerberg, there is an Elon Musk, but more than anyone else, most success stories, especially in India, is from execution. Again, taking the example of Bhavesh and Ola, whom I was fortunate enough to be involved with him in his early days. He didn't bring about any new idea, any revolutionary idea. It was Uber was existing. All he did was did it and executed it to perfection in an Indian condition. He understood that in India, cash is there. So while Uber did not take cash, Ola took cash. He realized in India, people are always wanting to talk, be on WhatsApp, watch movies. He created Wi-Fi within the cabs, and he created the OTT platform within the cabs. He realized, unlike in the West, India did not have public toilets by the roadside. So he created an app through which you could find out the nearest public toilet if you had to go to. It wasn't a breakthrough revolutionary idea. He did what Uber had done, but he customized it in an Indian context. So coming to your point, don't be stuck up that yours must be the most revolutionary idea in the world. Whatever it is, ideas are cheap. It is execution that matters.
Absolutely. I think, the way one has to go about it really decides, the kind of efforts we put in, the kind of hard work that we do, that actually plays a very important role. Well, ideas come and go every now and then. I think it's also, people always say that when you're with your best friend, you just brainstorm various ideas, but how you put those ideas into action, how you implement it is what matters. So I think, Shivansh, I hope that answers your question. We won't be taking any further. So thank you so much, Bhaskar sir, for being over here and sharing all those experience and all those words of wisdom. We couldn't thank you more, sir. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, calling upon our second keynote speaker for this session, we have none other than the Chief Executive Officer of Moelis India. She has more than 28 years of investment banking experience with extensive cross-border M&A expertise across a broad range of industries. Prior to joining Moelis & Company, Mrs. Girotra was CEO and country head of UBS in India, managing its investment bank, commercial bank, markets, equity research, and wealth management divisions. Previously, she was head North India of Barclays Bank. Mrs. Girotra began her investment banking career at ANZ Grinleys in London. She has appeared in Business Today's 25 Most Powerful Women in Business in India for the past 6 years, as well as Fortune India's 50 Most Powerful Women in Business in 2014 and 15. She was honored as a young global leader in 2010 by the World Economic Forum and was named as one of the 15 women to watch in Asia by Forbes in 2008 and one of the 50 women to watch in the annual Wall Street Journal survey in 2007. She's currently serves on the global board of Naspers and is a board member of 3 Indian companies, Reliance Jio Payments Bank, Ashok Leyland, and Mindspace Business Parks REIT. Ladies and gentlemen, inviting upon Mrs. Manisha Girotra.
Thank you, Dev. Pleasure to be here, and thank you for your kind words.
Thank you, ma'am. I would also like to call upon our committee member, Shivansh Totla, to moderate the fireside session with Ms. Manisha Girotra, ma'am.
Good morning, Mrs. Girotra. It's a pleasure having you here. And before we start off, really sorry and a humble apologies for any of the technical issues that you faced before logging in. But
no
really,
my daughter's your age, so she managed to sort it out. I needed a young person to sort it out.
That's great. That's great. But really stoked to have you here. So before we go on to discussing the topic that we have at hand, I'm sure everyone would really like to know what your journey was like in the industry or before even starting off in the industry. So, ma'am, what was your journey like?
So my journey started at your college, at Jai Hind College, which is where I did my 11th and 12th, my FYJC and SYJC. Then I went on to Stephens to do economics. I actually wanted to do a PhD in economics. I wanted to be a professor. That's really where my life's dream was. But after my master's at Delhi School of Economics, I decided that I will do a couple of years of banking because, I came from a government family. My parents didn't have the resources to send me globally for a PhD. So I decided I'll work for 2 years. And, and first year into banking, I fell in love with what I do. I'm an accidental banker, but a very passionate banker. And 30 years later, I'm still here. I work through various organizations such as Barclays and UBS and now Moelis. And I related to what Bhaskar said because each time that when I set up UBS in India and when I set up Moelis in India, they were fairly unknown startups and people didn't know who we were. I remember when I set up UBS, people used to think we are the courier company UPS. So they would say UPS, courier wali madam aayi hai. And then when I set up Moelis, people were like, what is this? So, I totally relate to it. But it's been an exciting journey. It's been the best of both. It's been a corporate, but at the same time, it's been very entrepreneurial. And that's why I'm here probably 30 years later. So that in a summary is my journey.
Right. That's quite an exciting journey. And I'm sure the accidental banker is something that everyone would want to know about how that happened. But right.
I guess it was somewhere in the genes. My father's a banker. So I'm a banker. So I guess my brother's a banker. So maybe somewhere it was genetically destined to be.
Right. Okay. So without further ado, we'd straight dive into the topic that we have related to banks and with technology and blockchain coming in, how that is going to impact the banking sector. So the first question, ma'am, according to you, what is the biggest challenge that the banking sector is facing in India at the moment?
So I think the banking sector, more than any other sector, and this holds for all sectors, but it's particularly true of banking, is what technology is doing to these sectors, right? It is so disruptive. So I think when I mentioned to you, when I was growing up as a kid, visiting a bank branch was a big event. You dressed up to go to the bank branch to get a status report on what is the money in the bank account, what do you want to withdraw. Bank manager Sahib was a big man, and so all of that. So that's how banking started. All ledger driven, handwritten. The person who was writing all of it was very important because all the accounts had to be balanced manually. That's where it started. Then when I started my career, things moved up and, basically my generation didn't really need to interface with a bank branch, didn't really need to go to visit a bank branch because things like ATMs, etc. came. And that itself we thought was a big technology move, etc. A lot of jobs became redundant because people were manually managing ledgers, etc. were no longer relevant. So that was a change. But now your generation does everything on the smartphone, right? You don't need anything. You don't need any ATMs. You don't know anything. You just, everything's being done through these through these apps. And these are the ones which are disrupting bank. So if you're a bank today, if you're not investing in technology, you're facing a serious disruption. You're facing existential issues. And a lot of companies that we knew as like they were 10 years ago don't exist because they didn't adopt to technology. So I think that's really what is challenging banks more than anyone else, because it was an intermediary. It thrived on intermediary information. It thrived that you, Shivash, know something, I know something, Dave knows something, and I as the bank was the intermediary between the two of you, and I took advantage of the information that I had which the two of you didn't have. Not in a bad way, I mean in a good way, that I went and found it. But that doesn't exist anymore, because everything's available to everyone, everything's accessible. What's available to your cousin in the US is available to you sitting in Bombay. So there is no value for that information. So as a result, banks like HDFC, Kotak, who have super invested in technology, have remained so relevant, right? While there are others who've just fallen by the wayside. That's the really big challenge that I think banks are have to adapt to, which is invest in technology.
Right, absolutely. So ma'am, with blockchain technology like blockchain etc. coming up, do you think that would impact the banks in a negative way, or could they integrate that into their system and it could instead be a boon rather than being a bane?
So it's exactly what we discussed before, which is depends how you adapt to the technology. Are you nimble enough? Do you embrace the technology, or you deny it? If you deny it and you say, I don't need this, and you say this is terrible, this is not a good thing, this is just speculative, then of course you're going to basically fall by the wayside. If you adapt it, if you say, look, blockchain is something that I can incorporate into my system, information is disintermediated, I can use it to make better lending decisions, etc., then the same thing can be used to your advantage. But the key is that do not be averse to technology, do not be averse to the lessons that technology is teaching you. And embrace it. And of course, there are some parts of the business which will fall to the wayside, right? A blockchain will make a payment system so easy, right? If I'm receiving a remittance from the US, I don't necessarily need a bank to basically do the whole transfer, take 1 week, take currency benefits, etc. Basically, it can be made a straight transfer. So some parts of the business will become redundant, but other parts like lending, etc., can become more sophisticated if you embrace the technology.
Absolutely. Okay, so ma'am, the next question that we should tackle here is that, are the citizens in India right now becoming skeptical and kind of fearful about the financial robustness of this sector, the banking sector, with rising NPAs and things like that, and recently with the PMC Bank, with the Yes Bank, with Lakshmi Vilas Bank, are the citizens becoming fearful of this sector right now?
So that's a good question. A few years ago, basically, when a lot of banks and NBFCs, etc., came up, people basically for a 1 or 2% extra interest went to banks which didn't have too much of a legacy and which were just offering extra interest, i.e., extra income to entice clients. What happened through the last few years, as you rightly said, with Yes Bank and a lot of other entities, ILFS, etc., which went belly up, is that there was a flight to quality. So if you speak to people today, it's the point I made earlier. People who are investing, banks which are investing in technology, banks which rely on their reputation more than anything else, which treat governance, corporate governance, reputation, are low profile, are the ones that are winning. And you've seen that basically. You've seen the likes of SBI, HDFC, Kotak, etc., win over the other names that you mentioned. There has been a flight to quality. And I think that's really where a banker wins. I mean, I remember when my father was a banker, people would say things like, a banker goes to work at 9 a.m., borrows at 10, lends at 2, and goes home at 5. So it was a low profile job where basically what was most important was your reputation and your ethics. And I think it's back to that, because with technology disintermediation, that whole 1%, 2% advantage now ceases to exist. You as a customer know exactly what's available to you. So what's important is your reputation and your trust. If I can gain your trust, my business model will gain. And I think it's back to the basics. Despite, they say the more things change, the more they remain the same. And that's really what we've seen here, right? That while so much technology upgradation has happened, the most important thing for a banker is to remain low profile, carry the trust of people, and have high corporate governance. And those conditions have not changed, and those rules have not changed.
Absolutely. I totally agree on that right now what banks need to do is gaining that trust of their customers and trying to maintain that ethical standard that they should as banks. Absolutely. And that's when the citizens right now, where the savings are going down, people are not that comfortable in increasing their savings with the banks. I'm sure that's going to change with the building of trust and with getting the ethics back on track. And such cases like I mentioned, the PMC, Lakshmi Vilas or Yes Bank, when they start deteriorating and they start reducing such cases, I think we can have that trust in the banking sector back to where people really believe in the banks and believe in that financial system in the country.
Shwant, the markets are rewarding, the financial markets are rewarding banks with high corporate governance, right? So where a Kotak trades, HDFC trades versus where some of the banks you mentioned or NBFCs you mentioned trade is so starkly different because of governance that the markets are also teaching a lesson. So fair markets and are actually a great way to teach people lessons. And that, that's what happened with the Yes Bank, with the kind of run that happened on its share price, etc., etc. So in a way, what India has done in terms of, absolutely freeing its markets, having a very strong, robust stock market is also a great value system, because I think it teaches people that the markets will reward you if you stand for exactly what you said, knowing your customer well, being fair with your customer, having a good reputation. And I think so the system is playing itself out. Having said that, people have lost some faith in the system, but I think with long run it's good, because I think the winners will be the best guys.
Absolutely. Ma'am, so about this NPA issue that is being talked about so often again and again, and with the finance minister coming up with the solution of probably bad banks to try to solve it. So do you think that would really be it's the solution to cure the NPA problem, or there are some deep underlying problems and root causes that should be tackled before setting up of this bad banks?
No, I think it's a very good idea, because what it does, Shivanshu, it frees up the management, which was continuously chasing these bad loans to do what they are good at, right? To basically focus on channelizing their capital to grow the country. Right. We're an emerging market. We need capital. We need more corporates to come. We need people like you to become entrepreneurs, have access to capital, build out business, create jobs and employment. But as a banker in the last few years, I've stopped focusing on that, and I've become inwardly focused, basically sorting my house, right? And these NPAs were just overwhelming me. The market was beating me up, saying, look, there's too much bad loans. You need to focus on that before you lend. So I'd taken away from my basic job, which was of borrowing at 9 and lending at 5, and I was just focusing on how do I resolve my balance sheet. Now this gets parked aside to a bad bank, which basically this is what they do for a living. But just having a bad bank is not a solution. We also need to capitalize the existing banks, because just if you take away the bad loans from my balance sheet doesn't mean I become really healthy and robust and start running, right? I need to invest in myself again, right? And that's why all these banks, especially the state-owned banks, I think the private sector banks through COVID have raised an enormous amount of capital and are very well capitalized. But I think what's needed now is that either the government through its own resources, which are limited, or otherwise through markets, need to recapitalize these banks, the state-owned banks, I mean, make them strong again, give them professional managements, empower them to have independent board-run banks, and then let them loose and say, look, go out there and invest in the country's growth and, be an equal partner with corporates who are really wanting to do more and more.
Absolutely. Also, the government trying the disinvestment policy for many of the banks and trying to bring in the private sector also. I think that would be a great move to try to recapitalize banks. Yeah. Okay. So, being in the investment banking field for so many years, ma'am, what do you think right now is the future of investment banking in this country?
So I think it's very exciting. Look, when I started, there were very few corporates. You could either go to the public sector in Delhi, state-owned companies like ONGC, GAIL, IOC, or the private sector. Because I worked in large banks, you could only bank large private sector. You could work with a Reliance, a Tatas, or a Birla. So a handful, right? And all of us were chasing these few corporates. By the time all of you come into the workforce, I mean, the kind of corporates, the kind of unicorns that are getting created, the kind of new businesses that are getting created, right? Mine was very traditional, oil and gas, commodities, etc., etc. Some IT services, few IT services like Infosys, Wipro, but that's about it, right? Well, you guys, I mean, your generation is challenging every business model, and as a result, every day new business models are being created, right? I mean, today a Swiggy is more valuable than probably a lot of traditional companies who've been generating cash flows and EBITDA for so long. So I think it's really exciting for you people, whether you want to join investment banking in a mainstream bank or do something on your own. You're in a really exciting time. And the second part is that the markets are so integrated. Capital flows are so strong into India, right? When I started, if you wanted to do a deal, even at more than $50 million, you had to go into the UK market. You had to do a GDR or an ADR, as they call it. Indian markets didn't have enough capital. Today, $3-4 billion deals get announced overnight, right? There's no problem. Jio last year got $20 billion of capital, right? You know that Jio and who would have thought, right? Facebook, Google putting in $4-5 billion with limited diligence, just one term sheet signed up. So exciting. So I think for all of you, the world of investment banking and private equity is integrated with the rest of the world. And it's really exciting time for all of you to be entering the workforce. If I could rewind the clock, I would love to be born in your generation and be part of the workforce today, starting in the workforce today.
For sure. So that really is a very exciting phase right now for investment banking, with you really mentioning the amount of deals that take place right now, day in, day out. We see that this company is taking over this company, they're acquiring stake in this company. And I think that's how currently in the corporate world, we're seeing takeovers and mergers increasing that much that, people are considering that as their business model, where we see people acquiring other businesses to try to grow and expand.
Absolutely. So mergers and acquisitions plus capital. Everyone wants to be in India, right? I mean, with the whole now the whole US-China strain, people want to de-risk and be in India. So great opportunity for all of you to join the workforce. And this will stay. It's not like, in 2 years it'll go away. I think it's a systemic change for India. I think next 15, 20 years, we're on a different trajectory of growth. So I'll be watching all of you as you participate in this very exciting phase.
Absolutely. Ma'am, so being a leader in the investment banking field, as well as a role model, not only for women, but for each one of us out here, what were some of the major obstacles that you faced while trying to move up the corporate ladder in your time?
So I think in my journey, I think the biggest obstacles would be more related to being a woman, because I think there were very few women in investment banking. There were no women on boards. There were no women in corporates, in managements. In fact, I remember going and calling on certain companies where there wasn't even a bathroom for women, right? Because they didn't expect women to come. You had to go to the basement to go to a ladies' bathroom because, people didn't expect women to come in. I think I mentioned to you earlier, when I set up UBS, people thought I was the courier lady. And they used to, and when I would go into a meeting, at best, people thought I was the secretary in the meeting, right? Nobody thought I was actually the head of the firm, etc. So I think for me, the objectification, the trivialization that came from being a woman in a very male-dominated world, in most boardrooms, I would be the only woman. In most meetings, I would be the only woman. I think it was a big challenge to be taken seriously. And I had to try twice as hard. So I think that was the biggest challenge as a young professional. And I'm not taking away from the challenge that all of you men face too. It's difficult. I mean, investment banking, you're basically meeting with the top entrepreneurs and the CFO and the CEO of the company. They have limited time for you because they have a really hard day job. So whether you're a young professional, male or woman, it's a difficult career to enter, because you have to be smart at very different industries very quickly. You have to be an expert on IT services one day. The other day, you have to be an expert on blockchain. The third day, you have to be an expert on artificial. It could be a wide variety. So you have to be very well read. So I think the first thing is to stay on top of your games. You have to continuously read. You have a day job. You have to spend the night upgrading your skills. That holds for both men and women. But for me, it just was harder emotionally because, as a woman, I was just not taken seriously. So I had to try twice as hard. And I think my family's encouragement was really important at that point, because everyone said, look, just keep going. And, men are facing a paradigm shift too. They don't know how to deal with a woman who's talking cash flows and M&A, etc. So block by block. And I think it became easier. It still remains some of that, gender bias. I'm not saying it is even gone even today. It's of course much simpler because I have my years behind me. But I think that was the toughest. But for all of you young people who are going to get into this industry, my advice is that, look, the initial bit is hard. It's long hours. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of learning, but it's exciting. Where else do you meet the best entrepreneurs, the best minds? I don't think you do that in any other industry. So early at 28, you don't sit across the CEO and get to question him on his vision, right? It's only in this business that you can do it. And so that's why, the hard work is there, but do remember that it comes with a lot of excitement and a lot of benefits. A bit of a roller coaster, but look, what the hell, life's an adventure, right?
Right. Put it the perfect way, ma'am, that it is a roller coaster, and we should enjoy it rather than considering it an obstacle. Right. And also about the fact that, you put it perfectly, that it was a very male dominated industry at that time when you entered in. So definitely it would have been a great challenge, but you setting a mark and, leaving a mark in the industry and still being one of those top leaders and role models, I think it's a very commendable thing, and something which all of us should look up to and strive to achieve in our lifetimes, at least. So
we'll do better and big, all you guys. I'm confident. You're all very much smart.
Right. Okay, ma'am. So, like you said that earlier, women didn't have that much of a role to play, and being taken seriously wasn't that prevalent. So, what do you think is right now, with the changing role which we can see with women in the sector as well as in entrepreneurship on the whole?
So I think, look, what's changed is that you didn't have institutional buy-in for women. So if I were a woman and I faced any gender bias, I faced objectification, there was no policies that I could go, or, HR that I could go and say, look, I'm having this issue, and there were policies against gender bias, both internally and externally. Today, there's a huge sensitivity, right, to all of that. So I think if you're a woman, if you're an organization, you're facing that challenge, you can actually go to your HR, you can go to your firm, and there's completely zero tolerance for any of that stuff, which is very heartening, because there is some buy. In fact, a lot of organizations are not just having these training for women, but they're also having it for men, because I think it's equally important to train the men on what the gender bias issues are, right? So a lot of organizations are making it mandatory for men to attend these. And earlier it was seen as like, oh, this is a woman's thing, and men would giggle and laugh and say, what is this? What are these workshops we're having? Today it's mandatory for men. So I think that's what's heartening, that, you're basically changing the mindsets at work. I think what for me is a frustration, that mindsets at home are not changing. We still come from a very patriarchal society. And, no matter what you say, your attitude and mindset at home does spill over at work, right? So that very, very, very old mindset that men go to work and women stay at home and, cook and clean, etc. That needs to change. That basic theory needs to stand on its head. If I'm working and my husband's working, we're both equal partners at home too. There's no question that I come home and I have to acquire a completely different avatar of a homemaker, right? So I think once that changes at home, and I think I would like to see that change a lot more with your generation, where you treat your partner as equal, as genuine equal. You treat her job as a career as much as you treat your own. I think then that mindset will spill over at work and make a lot of difference. But what is positive is that organizations are really trying hard to change the gender bias, and organizations are changing it because they've seen having women in the workforce, having women in boards is actually giving better results as a corporate. Because let's just say you're a consumer company. If a consumer company's buyer is the woman decides, what to buy at home. So if there is a woman in the organization, she can guide you better on the decision-making parameters of a woman buyer. Similarly, at boards which have women are basically seen as performing 40% better. The Nordic countries, which have like 40 to 50% board members as women, perform the best, have the highest corporate governance. So organizations are seeing that having women, and through COVID, you've seen the countries which had the presidents and prime ministers as women have performed the best in terms of COVID management, right? So I think people are seeing rewards in having women in the workforce, and that's why corporates are learning and changing faster. But as I said before, and I said it thrice, I would really like mindsets at home to change faster.
For sure. And with whatever you said, there is a great increasing importance of women in the corporate world. And I think everyone can see it. It is very evident on the face of it that the corporate world is seeing women as now more of a very important asset to have in their setup. And it's increasing the performance levels, like you rightly mentioned. And it's their role is like it's increased manifold right now, and they are there at the top right now, equally competitive. I'd say performing better also, like you said.
Are you getting beaten up by the girls in your class or not? Are they beating you academically?
For sure. We have all toppers as girls right now. So
well,
that's exactly that. Okay, ma'am. So lastly, because of the shortage of time, we'll have to try to hasten. There's so much that I would have loved to ask, but this is the time. But yeah, okay. Lastly, ma'am, who was it that inspired you during your lifetime, and what is some of the advice that you can give to all of us present out here listening to this session?
Look, unlike your generation, my generation, because I was so new into investment banking, didn't have that many role models or mentors, right? So I'm sort of, learn by trial model. I think, there were errors along the way, there were failures along the way, there were setbacks, but I think I got up on my own feet. I think it's to what Bhaskar said. You just had, the adversity quotient was high, but the resilience and the desire to overcome those adversities was equally high. So unfortunately, I don't think I had a role model. I think who inspires me and who is my biggest source of strength is my dad. He was in this industry, and my dad has a reverse gender bias for women. I have one brother, and I I am the complete favorite child. And I think that makes a lot of difference because it gives you that strength, right? When you go out in the world and you see a gender bias against you,
Absolutely.
you don't feel that, you feel there's something wrong with the world because you go home and you have the best clothes. We had limited means. I had the best clothes. I had the best room. My brother, I think for the first 5 years lived in hand-me-down frocks because poor guy, he hates his childhood program. So I think, for me, that is what has been my strength more than anything else. But, to all of you young people, I would say, especially because networking has become so easy thanks to technology, I would encourage all of you, seek out mentors. And people want to help. People want to give advice. People want their learnings to be shared. So seek out mentors, seek out role models who you think would be relevant to you. Build your own network, learn from your network, because I think you can fast track some of the learnings that we did by mistakes and took many years. You can compress it because you're anywhere generation in a big hurry. So, seek out mentors and in organization, outside of organizations, within families, and take advice and listen because, while a lot of things are changing, as I said before, a lot of things remain the same too. And you can actually learn a lot from the earlier generation, especially for the girls in your who are listening on. I think, you'll need, reach out to role models who are women. I think they would love to help and they'd love to see more women in the workforce. So please do reach out. And now it's easy, earlier you had to go to an event or a conference to reach out to people. But today, you and I can sit in our own homes, each one of us, and just have a conversation. And I can tell you what my experience is through on certain things. So please do that proactively.
All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was very inspiring, as we can see in the chat box. It truly was very inspiring and really exciting to listen to your journey and see how we can actually make it big in this sector. And not only like for women out there, definitely women would be inspired to a great extent, but even for us men, because it's like you said, it is not easy even for us. We need to keep changing with times and, keep acquiring new skills in this ever changing field. So that's definitely something, a key takeaway for us. And also your views on the banking sector and how they should adapt to technology is something that it's pretty something that we should make note of and should, keep it in mind that with technology, we must have and stay up to that change. So, right, I guess, do we
go home and cook the dinner tonight, Shivansh? Tell your mom to sit up with her feet up and you go cook the dinner.
Absolutely.
Start today.
Yes, we should start. Never too late. Okay, so do we have time for questions?
Sorry.
Do we have time for questions?
I think we can entertain one. Siddharth, if you could just confirm.
Sure. We can have one or two questions from the chat box.
Okay, there are quite a few questions out there, but okay.
Shivansh, you can take them. Yeah, you can take a couple from me.
Okay, fine. All right. Okay, so one of the questions by Rishabh is that what could be the possible ramifications of lifting of the embargo placed on private banks to participate in government business?
Sorry, I don't understand. To participate, yeah. So I think it goes back to the earlier. If I understand the question correctly, it goes back to the fact that competition is good. No industry should be a closed industry with 4 to 5 players. We've seen that wherever competition has come, pricing has improved, the customers gained. So I'm all for more competition. I'm all for more market dynamics. I think nothing settles the market better than market dynamics. And I think that's something India has done, not just in banks, but over the year in every sector. Earlier telecom, a lot of sectors were seen as strategic sectors, or we shouldn't have competition in it. But today you've seen in telecom where we were versus where we were. Where we are old times, your landline wouldn't work, etc. Today you have mobile phones where you're doing all transactions. So I'm completely for competition in every sector with no limits, no ceiling, no areas guarded for government participation.
Right, and I think even Mystery had a similar question about private sector participation. So Mystery, I hope that answers your question as well. And yes, we had another question. What is the future of audit firms, and will the mandatory rotation help or hinder the quality?
I think so. I think, look, it doesn't hurt because I think it basically ensures that the auditor and the company doesn't get into a comfort zone. And I don't mean a comfort zone in a negative manner, but you just sort of stop looking at certain things because, in your mindset, you've done it 5 years. So the 6th year, and that's for humans like you and me too. If we've seen something, we tend to glance over. While, a fresh set of eyes comes, you do tend to look at it with more detail. So I don't think it's a bad thing at all. It's a great time to be an auditor, frankly. I see auditor fees going up everywhere. I mean, they're in a great sweet spot. So I think it's like auditors and lawyers come out winners from everything. So, if any of you are aspiring to be an auditor or a lawyer, trust me, auditors and lawyers have 9 lives. They can never be redundant. It's a good career choice.
Okay, I hope that answers your question, Muskan. So I guess with that, we have run out of time. And again, I would like to thank you so much, Mrs. Girotra. It was great having you here. And I'm sure we have a lot of takeaways and a lot of food for thought for our evenings. Right. So
thanks for having me. Thank you. And thanks, Siddharth. And thanks, Dave.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Shivansh. I think, yes, as even Siddharth mentioned, a lot of takeaways from this. In the industry, we do have women struggling a lot, but, at the same time, we are talking about investment banking as well, as ma'am mentioned, that at the moment, it's just flourishing, right? We have so many ups and downs coming in the picture. And just a couple of days, I think Rakesh Khanna mentioned that India would be taking over China in the next 25 years. But at the same time, he also mentioned that, cryptocurrency should be banned. So a lot of players in the financial market, as ma'am also mentioned that gradually trust has reduced a bit when it comes to banking sector. The savings have taken a hit, but at the same time, when we see the other financial markets, when you talk about Sensex, I think they've grown massively. But I guess yesterday, it was the worst day in 11 months, right, with 1,900 points down. So a lot of things happening here and there, a lot of wavering happened. But I guess, just like ma'am mentioned, this is the best time to join the workforce because we have so many opportunities coming in and we can take good takeaway from that. And the more the risk, I think the more the returns as well. So I think thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us in. Ladies and gentlemen, next up presenting to you for our keynote speaker session, we have none other than Mr. Tarun Katyal, who is among us for a keynote session. He has won the Indian Telly Award for the Best TV Programming Executive. He is responsible for steering ZEE5, India's largest contact brand, towards gaining an industry leadership position. In just over 2 years since inception, the platform already hosts 100 plus originals across genres and languages and has seen 100 million plus downloads. He's also very instrumental in conceptualizing Hippie, India's first fully homegrown short video, and various tech and content use cases in 9 languages and various taste clusters. It is one of the only platforms in India to have built end-to-end technology for consumer data and customer life cycle management. Under his leadership, ZEE5 has won 60 plus awards at various credible forums. The most impactful debut award at Pitch Top 50 Brands 2019, OTT Platform of the Year at Promax 2020, to India's most desired video streaming brand, plus being the 7th most desired consumer tech brand by the TRA research. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take the honor to invite Mr. Tarun Katyal. Thank you so much for joining in, sir. It's a pleasure, I suppose, to have you here.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me around. I heard Manisha's last bits, and I think they were very, very inspiring. I can tell you that the industry I come from, thankfully, gender diversity has never been an issue. And I was very inspired to hear some of the stuff that she was saying about her dad and about her and her brother. But my experience over the last 20 years of running companies is that I've always had about 70 to 80% women team leaders and women members, and even on my executive board at ZEE5, at the last, we were almost 50 to 60% women leaders on it. So it's always exciting to see people who come back with the same refrain and make sure that things really change around us. You guys wanted to know more about digital video streaming, and I'm very excited to talk to you guys about where this is going. You guys are possibly at the center of the digital video streaming revolution, primarily because possibly amongst all of you guys is the cohort or the set of people who use it the most, right? You either find the time or find the inclination to use all forms of digital video streaming, whether it is long form, whether it is short form, whether it is vertical video, whether it is horizontal video, whether it is free, whether it's paid, whether it's AVOD, whether it's SVOD. I think the new generation, anywhere between 18 to 34, is really leading the revolution of where digital video streaming will land over the next 5 to 10 years. Now, what is really happening in this space? Some years ago, Jio came in with the 4G revolution, sampled 4G to a lot of people in this country, grew to about a 300, 400 million base of 4G users. What did really that do? The biggest use case that data led to was digital video. And that revolution is now moving to become the second revolution, which is the fiber to home revolution. And COVID, unfortunately, did a lot of things that were not required for the economy and for our society and for our lives. But it did one thing that dramatically changed digital video streaming, which is it ensured that broadband and fiber to home became almost like a utility in most cities of the country, where one could find fiber, in most places where one could afford it, and in most places where one could use it. And the entire work from home momentum and the way digital video streaming panned out has changed the way consumption of entertainment is now happening or will happen from here on. So the first revolution, the 4G revolution, changed a lot around mobile consumption. But what this is doing is changing the device ecosystem and consumption around how digital video streaming is becoming the mainstay of entertainment in your households. So think about it, right? The entire device ecosystem has gone through a metamorphosis. What used to cost, and somebody was telling me the story, that they went to a trip to Southeast Asia in the around 2014, 2015, and bought a TV from there. A lot of people in the early 2000s, right up to 2010 and 2015, used to go for trips and bring TVs back, bring LED TVs, bring HD TVs back. And they used to cost anywhere around a lakh of rupees. A good 43-inch Samsung would cost you a lakh of rupees. Guess how much does the same TV for any brand cost now? Anywhere between 25 to 35 to 45,000. And a good 32-inch smart TV now comes at 10,000 rupees. It's cheaper to buy a smart TV than to buy a smartphone in India. And that, coupled with utility like broadband, has changed the way India or the world is consuming entertainment. And that's at the one end of the spectrum, right? Where long form entertainment is now moving towards smart TVs. And people ask me, so, how do you define the role of television? And my answer is that you can see television in many ways, right? Television is a device, television is a service, and television is something that that we use for many things that in the household. We all along saw television as a service, which was television in our mind was equal to the broadcast service. That has dramatically changed. The device still stays, and the device either has become smart or we've aided on for it to become smart using Amazon Fire Sticks and other kind of devices like the smart boxes, the Geo smart box and everything else. But the role of television hasn't gone away from our life, right? We continue to use television not only for digital video on demand or video streaming, but for many other things in the household now. But is digital video streaming going to be restricted to television? No. Digital video streaming is going to be a wide array of services in that sense. And why I say that is because we can't define digital video streaming only with long form entertainment. The biggest revolution that is happening in digital video streaming today is in the way you're looking at the creator ecosystem and the way you're looking at horizontal versus vertical videos, right? So there is a distinct difference but a common pool of audience that is happening on the creator side. At one end of the creator side is the curated content, the premium, high quality curated content, which has taken a big leap from where we used to see broadcast daily soap television from, right? And you have cinema quality television being converted into series, very high end production values, great writing, good storytelling, both in India as well as internationally. And really, content of that form is becoming boundaryless because you can watch Narcos in another language and enjoy it as much as you would enjoy an Indian or a Hindi series locally in the country. And so that's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum, which is also becoming extremely global, but is in the hands of all of you guys as creators, is the vertical video game, right? We started with Facebook as a social platform. We then went on to Instagram. But today, the most popular social platforms engage through video and not through, through writing posts or writing texts or even putting out pictures. It is the video revolution in the social economy, which is changing the way digital video streaming is coming about. And what's really happening is that all of you guys are becoming bigger creators than anybody else. There are people who are more famous without being in a movie today than a movie star who's been in cinema for several years. And they are products of digital video streaming alone. They are products of YouTube, which is now migrated to platforms on the vertical side, whether it's IG, whether it is, and I won't, TikTok's not in the country, but all the others like Moj and Josh and Triller and so on and so forth. Or they are the classic YouTubers who still continue to make long form content. In all of this, the entire monetization strategy to digital video is also going through an entire 360-degree shift. Historically, we knew broadcast television had two streams of revenue: advertising and subscription. But today, as we go into the vertical video streaming, as we go into OTT, as we go into long form, that may not be the only way. The combination of subscription and advertising is actually now completely absent on the digital video streaming side, though I think it will come about or it will evolve over a period of time. But today, the market has gotten divided into many fragments. The bigger ones being, one is an advertising supported video, and two is a subscription video, supported video. But what will come about as the second revolution of digital video streaming and monetization will be two big things. One, which will be video commerce. And so you're actually monetizing video through commerce, and it's allowing you to make purchase decisions. It is influencing your purchase habits. It's influencing your thinking about brands without advertising, without frontal direct advertising. And on the other side will be peer-to-peer monetization. If you really like a creator, if you want to be engaging with a creator, if you think you want to encourage a creator, you will be paying the creator directly for all of the effort that the creator makes. So there is peer-to-peer that is big now in places like China, in places, and it's coming about in places like the US. There is video commerce and social commerce that is for real, and it's going beyond the influencer advertising that we saw some years ago, or branded content advertising that we saw some years ago. There is the classic display video advertising, which is also getting split between display video and performance. And by performance marketing or performance advertising, I mean direct ROI-led advertising that gives you a transaction at the end of advertising. And then there is subscription, which in itself is now getting divided into many ways. There is direct subscription, the D2C subscription that you buy from a platform directly. There is the aggregators that sell you subscription as a bundle of their service, which could be telcos, which could be credit cards, which could be loyalty programs. And then there is the transaction video on demand, which is that you are allowed to choose a certain asset, a certain stream, a certain kind of show or a certain kind of movie, and only pay for that much. So that is the entire implosion of of subscription in many, many ways. And I think this is not the end of it. This is just the start of the way subscriptions or advertising or performance marketing or video commerce or peer-to-peer will grow. The other big revolution that is happening is around data. So digital video streaming also allows for a lot more data and data understanding by the platforms. Now, how are the platforms using it? There are, at one end, there are the positive sides of it, which is recommendations, easy search, easy discovery, understanding of audiences, personalization, localization. And that is making your experience better, smoother, and more personalized to you at an n equal to 1 level. But at the other end, data is also getting used to serve advertising or to intrude your experience or your behavior on the platform. And as data privacy laws go on to becoming more and more stringent, we've seen GDPR in Europe, we have seen new laws in California, we've seen new laws now being enacted in India. This is also going to be a path that all of us should watch on. That how do we really use data without walking or trampling privacy, without trampling and intruding into every user's lives. The other piece that is extremely interesting is the super app strategy. And as we see this is being done in two ways. One is one platform, lots of use cases, and we've seen that in China. I was trying to develop this at Z5, and we've gone very far with that at Z5, where we had vertical video, we had AVOD, we had SVOD, and we were developing many more use cases like live streaming within one platform. And then there are a bouquet of services from one service provider, but in different platforms. And you see that already with Jio, but you already also see that with Amazon, where they have services around music, around reading with Kindle, they have services around Audible, and obviously the Prime Video service and the shopping service. So there is an ecosystem play that is emerging extremely powerfully, which is all connected with each other. Today, your FB account is connected to your IG account, could possibly be connected to your WhatsApp account, to WhatsApp payment account. And that ecosystem play, that network play, that super app play is also a reality, which allows for both platforms and users to be able to do things, many more things, with one login, with one platform, and with one ecosystem. Having said that, I think, in all of this, technology can almost create anything you can imagine. And some of you guys, as you get into the workplace, become product managers, become marketeers, you will have many more use cases to add to our lives as we go and make many leaps in technology for serving video. As I sign off, I will leave you with 3 words that mean the most in this space in India. One is vernacular. You've got to understand that India lies in its languages, and it's going to be very important for you guys to be able to understand audiences and audience use cases and audience insights on vernacular side. I'll give you an example. Our platform initially started with 2 languages, and by the time I left my role at Z5, we were 14 languages that we were serving in the country. And Indian languages are tough. Curating content in so many languages is tough. Creating search and discovery in so many languages is tough. To be able to serve and understand audiences in so many languages is tough. But that's really the success of any global platform, to be able to do this in multiple languages, and in India even more so. The other is video. It's important to understand how video gets delivered across devices. So if we have top-end, Android or Apple phones, the world doesn't. And today, video is getting served on feature phones at one end of the spectrum and on smart TVs on the other. And to be able to encode, transcode, and be able to serve video on the lowest bandwidth, on the lowest CPU, on the lowest memory device is going to be the challenge that all of us will have to solve over the years, so that digital video can penetrate at the deepest end of this country and the world. And the last is the role of voice. Search and discovery is going to be not a type game, but it's going to be a tap game. And it'll be important to see how voice gets integrated into every aspect of digital video streaming. The Clubhouse app is a great example of how you don't even need video to be able to create over the top now. And so voice will play a much larger role than all of us have imagined in many, many ways over the next few years. So the 3 V's that are going to prevail over the next 2 or 3 years, and I'm not promising any more than that because technology changes, use case changes, and behaviors change, are going to be video, vernacular, and voice. With that, I'm happy to take questions because, I can see all of you guys are at the center of the digital video streaming revolution, and anything I tell you is probably something that you guys either have known or experienced yourself.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much. With the just before we started, I was just mentioning that how our priorities have completely changed, right? So earlier it was roti, kapra, and makan, and now it's having a good internet connection. With time, I think, just as you mentioned, Reliance Jio stepping into the market, aggressive marketing. Earlier, we used to have to get 1 GB or 2 GB of internet connection, that to full, I think 3G, 2G, we used to pay like $200. And now it's just with these recharge plans, we just pay 10 rupees or 15 rupees. And worldwide at the moment, we have out of 7 billion, 4.2 billion users are there actively using internet, right? And, with the vertical videos coming in, with also the pandemic, the banning of apps of Chinese origin. So I don't know if it's a boon or bane for the Indian market. I suppose you would be the better person answering that. But with the students, with the children, I think I can talk. I think I can talk a bit about my generation. I can say that we've been exposed to a lot more these days. So earlier it was YouTube with the long videos. Then we went on to, IGTV kind of videos, long 3-4 minutes. And now it's more like, Reels or TikTok, wherein our attention span is just 15 to 20 seconds. Also, just like the vernacular languages, right? There are so many languages. I think this was an experiment that this was a case study that we studied in our college, that so the IPL, I think, while it was there with Sony Max and its other channels, when it was streamed on Sony and its channels, it was there in Hindi and English only. And as it gradually shifted to Star, I think they broadcasted the same in 7 to 9 languages. And with that, we had millions of people following IPL and watching in different areas of the country as well. So I think we have so much to offer. There's so much different, as you mentioned, a digital revolution coming up, and we're in the center of it. So there's so much to explore. But at the same time, I think I just a couple of days ago, I think we had the new regulations coming in from the government of India. So I'm very eager to know, because you belong to the OTT industry, because you are there from Z5 itself. How is it going to affect the OTT platform? Is it going to be like a boon or a bane?
So, I used to run the Digital Entertainment Committee at the IMAI, which is responsible for the self-regulation. And before I left, I'd released the self-regulation code for the industry. Somebody asked me, and a lot of news channels and newspapers called me yesterday. I was staying away from making comments or something like that. But I did say to somebody that, it's a lost opportunity. I think the industry had it going, and we had the self-regulation code done. It took us longer than we needed to get the implementation toolkit out, to be able to convince the government that we were in control ourselves and nobody needed to be in control of our creative content. But I think what has come out is also very progressive. It isn't something that will scare away creativity. My view is that, to be creative, you've got to use your left brain, right? You can't do this with the right brain. The right brain will get you all the logical answers, but you have to use your left brain. And so creative communities will always be left of center. And they will always look to push the boundaries of society norms. They will always push to bring newer ideas into society. They will always be liberal in their thinking. And so we never have to worry that will we become very mundane and will we ever have great ideas or will this kill creativity? And in fact, I'm leading a big discussion at the end of this month around creativity with diversity. But my view is that if we are able to be mindful of the society we live in, there are enough changes that storytelling can create. And there's enough impact that we can create through stories in the lives of everybody who watches them without having to cross boundaries which people feel offensive about. And I think that's possible. There may be 2 or 3 shows and 1 or 2 minutes of those shows that are offensive to people. But think about how much content that has been made on digital video streaming in the last 3 years in this country, and how much of it has really offended anybody. And even if it has, whether it is the lack of understanding, or is it herd mentality, or is it genuinely shouldn't have crossed the line. And when we come down to seeing how much of it really crossed the line, it's very, very little. But what I do think this will do for us is to clean up the system. The system was also getting plagued with fringe players who were also not even becoming a part of the industry or the rail regulation code. System was getting plagued by fringe players who were using adult and pornography and other kind of content as an entry point into enticing viewers to come and watch them. And that kind of stuff will exit out of the system. And that's good for any good industry to get respect and grow in the economy.
Absolutely. I think even Kendall in the chat section had a similar kind of doubt. And with all these questions coming in, we're running out of time. So I'm just going to take one question. As much as I want to, talk to you about these questions, I think I am coming from a mass media field. I'm doing my graduation in BMM. So I'm just loving this conversation, but we can just acknowledge one question. So I think on a random basis, selecting Jivika's questions, will the growing popularity of OTT platforms bring an end to traditional cinema?
I think cinema will not go away, but I do think television will have a tough time. Cinema is an experience, right? And whatever you may do, you cannot recreate that experience at home. But what it will do is, for the 500 films that get released in this country every year, a lot of them will go direct to digital because it doesn't make financial sense to release smaller cohorts, smaller segmented, smaller targeted films on cinema. But the cinematic experience is something that is here to stay. And I can tell you that, in markets like Tamil Nadu and Andhra, where, films are back to releasing in volume, the cinema goers are back. You make great content, people will come and watch it.
Absolutely. I think I would surely agree that, television is getting a tough competition here. I suppose the audience is gradually shifting. Our generation, our society is shifting to more of, just as you specified, Geo set-top box, smart TV, Android, Airtel Extreme, XYZ. And it's more of us either using these smart TV, smart television platforms or OTT and less of television. Whereas the other income group is now, I think when they're exposed to television more, I think that's where the gradual shift is taking place. I think great insights, Tarun sir. Thank you so much for joining in. I wish we could just continue and go on and on with this conversation, because we've already run out of time. So I think we can't take it further. But I had a lovely time. Looking forward to actually have this some other day again as well, so that we could finish.
Thank you so much, guys. Have a good one. Take care and make us proud.
Cheers. Thank you so much. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, inviting our next keynote speaker, and also the last one for the day, ladies and gentlemen, inviting none other than Mr. Rakesh Khanna. He is one of the top global COOs by Advisory Cloud. Mr. Rakesh Khanna is the Chief Executive Officer of Atos Syntel and member of the Executive Committee of Atos Group. He assumed this role in October 2018 following the acquisition of Syntel. Prior to acquisition, Mr. Rakesh was the CEO, President, and member of the Board of Directors of Syntel from 2016. He joined Syntel in 2005 as president of the banking and financial services vertical, Syntel's largest industry group, and was the Chief Operating Officer from 2012 to 2016. During his tenure as COO of Sintel, he was constantly rated one of the top global COOs by Exec Rank Incorporation. He's also the global sponsor for well-being at Atos. He has over 35 years of experience in the technology service industry, various leadership roles in North America, Europe, and Asia. Before Sintel, ladies and gentlemen, he had a decade-long stint with Oracle Financial Solutions. He's also worked with Tata Burroughs for 11 years, where he managed projects in the US, UK, Belgium, Japan, and Malaysia for global enterprise clients. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for me to invite none other than Mr. Rakesh Khanna. Thank you so much, sir, for joining in. I think it's an honor for me, a pleasure for all of us who are here to listen to what all you have in store for us, all the experience. And I think you are here to just get motivated and encouraged. So thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you, Dave, for the nice introduction. You make me sound like a dinosaur, but I am current with the times. But just trying to do an audio and visual check. I hope you can hear and see me all okay?
Absolutely, sir.
Good. Hey, thanks for inviting me. And, Jai Hind College has been on my radar when I graduated my 10th board in 1977. In fact, I actually wanted to join Jai Hind. I had enough marks to get into Jai Hind. All our toppers from our school, from St. Xavier's, would walk into Jai Hind. But being the couch potato that I am, Mitibai College was like a stone's throw away, and I was able to walk there. So I kind of decided to join Mitibai. And of course, from there, I went to VJTI and then NMIMS. But now my son, who's a teenager, he wants to do BSc in physics, and I'm encouraging him to probably apply to Jai Hind College next year, because I obviously have a very high image and I hold all of you in high esteem, and you all are really lucky to be part of such a great institution. So congratulations for that, and wish everybody all the best.
Thank you.
Coming back to my teenage son, he and I play a lot of online chess. I travel a lot, of course, before the lockdown and not lately. But in one of our chess games, my son happened to ask me, "Dad, do you know who's the world's best chess player?" Now, when I was growing up, I remembered the Russians who used to be on top. So I told him, "Son, it must be Garry Kasparov." So he says, "Dad, you're dead wrong. The world's best chess player is not Garry Kasparov. It's actually a computer called IBM Deep Blue." And he says, "You run such a large IT company. How come you don't know this?" So I told him, no, I knew the answer all along, but I was just trying to test if you knew the answer. Kids be kids. They obviously he took me at face value, and we moved on. Another question he asked me, "Dad, can you explain the difference between data and information?" And I started throwing jargon at him. And he says, hold on. Don't test me this time. Let me give you the answer. And he said, the difference is there are 20,000 species of snakes in the world is data. The one under your chair is poisonous, is information. And this is really good, because the first message I want to give all of you, the topic today is surviving the age of automation. But it's very important not to get lost in the jargon, but to really look at meaningful, simple use cases, simple interpretation of how automation can help us not only survive, but thrive in this age of global technology. In fact, you may have read this famous quote in the Wall Street Journal. Mark Henderson talks about software is eating the world. Everything, including Tesla, is now driven by software. That's really where the whole industry is going. In fact, I would not even go to such an advanced level. I watch this in my own home. We have a live-in domestic help. And one day, one of my family members spilled some vegetables on the couch. And we were all trying to figure out how do you get rid of the odor and the stuff by wiping the couch. And my domestic help offers, he says, "Don't worry, sir. I will watch YouTube video on how to clean the couch, and I will do the needful." Okay, so this is an illiterate person who is in Hindi typing in on YouTube and searches and eventually does a fantastic job, which you and I cannot even imagine. The other day, my air conditioner broke down, and I call this, the technical support guy comes to my home. He says, show me where is the ODU, the outdoor unit, okay? And I take him to the window. He climbs out of the window. He has no toolbox. I tell him, where is your toolbox? How are you going to fix this? He says, sir, don't worry. My toolbox is here. He takes out the pen drive. He removes the data bus from the ODU. He inserts the pen drive, switches on the data on his cell phone. And he says, sir, don't worry. In a minute, I will know what is the problem. In a minute, he gets a push notification on his cell phone in Hindi, where there is, and what we are witnessing here is edge computing. Okay, he's actually activated an IoT device, connected it to my ODU, and the diagnostics is running. It takes 30 seconds or 60 seconds for it to kind of show it on the edge, and then it goes to the company server, comes back with a push notification that one of the capacitor on the motherboard is fired. Replace it. So he says, sir, don't worry. I'm going to go on my motorcycle in Goregaon. In 1 hour, I'll be back. And he brings a beautiful capacitor, fixes it. So the malfunction, within 1 hour, my air conditioning unit is up and running. And this is the power of automation. This is the power of technology. And the first message I want to give all of you, again, like I said, it's not about throwing jargon. It is all about how can we drive the power of technology to solve daily problems. And that is really the beginning of innovation. That is where entrepreneurship is connected. And all of you can really become very, very successful the moment you understand how to use the power of technology and automation to fix the business issues, commercial issues, or all of the issues, okay, in a very simple way. Just want to also introduce 30 seconds, the company I work for. I'm very proud to work for Atos globally. We are a 11 billion euro revenue company. Now, I'm sure many of you don't know how many zeros in a billion. I mean, if this was a live session in your auditorium, I would have actually grilled you and asked you to explain how many, but I'll give you the easy answer. So there are 9 zeros in a billion. So you put a 1 and then 9 zeros. And we are 11 billion euro company. Again, if you multiply by 90 rupees to the euro, that adds up to 90,000 crore rupee company globally. We delivered in 2020 operating margin of 1 billion euro, and this was a tough year for us. And 1 billion again, multiplied by 90 rupees is 9,000 crore rupees was the operating margin, the EBITDA, what we call about, yeah. So that is a scale. And of course, I'm CEO of Atos Intel, which is under 2 billion out of the 11 billion that we deliver globally for our customers internationally. Now, although I'm very proud, but on the global scale, this is really not, of course, we are very proud to be a large IT company, but contrast this with the results declared by Amazon. If you saw the Q4 results of Amazon, they declared $100 billion quarter, $8 billion net margin. So obviously, a lot of room to grow. And that's one of my other messages to all of you, that we should not just think local. We have to benchmark ourselves with the biggest and the best. And that's how we will improve and get to the next level of evolution. Now, your faculty members and Dev and Siddharth had briefed me that we should talk about surviving the age of automation and the skill gap. Now, I prefer to share some live experiences with you rather than give you fantastic data from NASCOM or from the McKinsey report on what are the global spend and what we need to do in skilling, etc., etc. So that stuff, I implore you to Google on your own. And if you have questions online or offline, I'm happy to address those. But today, I want to share my experience. What is a skill gap? And what do you need to do individually to master this, to survive the age of automation, and to not only survive, our objective should be to thrive in the age of automation. So I have a simple message for each of you. You need to be the best. And this is an acronym. The B stands for be positive, E for excellence, S for skills, and T for thought leadership. That is really solutioning. And I'll come to each of these. When I say be positive, Never imagine you're too small to do anything. I will give you a nice example. It seems it's a nice anecdote which will prove my point. A priest died and went to the pearly gates of heaven. As he was waiting to enter heaven, God welcomed priest and says, "Welcome, my child, welcome to heaven." He gives him a cotton robe and he says, "Welcome to heaven, right? Go right in." The next guy in line is a shabbily dressed guy. And when that guy's turn comes, God says, "Pandy, welcome to heaven. Here is a golden robe. Please wear this and go right inside." So priest is a bit surprised. He says, "God, wait a minute. What's happening? I am the guy who preached your name for 30 years on earth in church. How come I get a cotton robe and this shabbily dressed guy, Pandy, you give him a golden robe? What's going on here?" God says, "Results, my child, results. When you were preaching my name for 30 years on earth in church, everybody slept. When Pandy drove his auto rickshaw in Chennai, everybody prayed." So the point is, it's performance and not position which counts. So never imagine that you're too small or not important. It doesn't matter. That I'm talking to the CEO. I encourage my people. I have 34,000 people globally reporting to me. I go to the rookie on the floor and I ask them for suggestions, what we can do to grow the company. How can we service our customers better? So all of you have to imbibe this value. Never assume that you're too small or too junior to make any suggestions. Have a very positive attitude, and that's the first skill that you need to pick up. Be positive. Okay. The E stands for excellence. When you get your mark sheet, will you tolerate any error in your mark sheet? No way. You will go and start yelling at the admin department. You may even go to Vadia sir saying, "Sir, look what's going on. I am getting these defective mark sheets with my marks are wrong." So what's happening here is, when you are expecting work from others, okay, you want 100% accuracy, zero defect, no mistakes. Do you have the same passion for delivering 100% defect-free work to others? That is my second point. The E for excellence. Practice the habit of excellence in everything you do. That will make you successful. The third S is around skills. Now in skills, what I tell my people also, I will share with you. Basically, a combination of Java, analytics, containerization for cloud, Kubernetes, AI/ML, okay, Selenium. Now again, don't worry if you don't understand these words. I'm just telling you the hot and happening things out there in the global marketplace, okay? And this is the skills we are investing in. For all our people, we have globally 100,000 people in ATOS. In ATOS Central, about 34,000. But across the board, these are the skills which we are pushing forth because we see these. And like Tarun said in the previous session, the technology is changing so fast. These will become out of fashion in 2 years from now. So the current, if you could focus on some of these, any of these are really the right emerging skills. On analytics specifically, this is a very, very big shift, what we are seeing. Tremendous attraction towards analytics. And here again, I will give you a very nice example. You may have actually read this case study. It seems an irritated father walked into a Target store in Minneapolis. This came in the New York Times, by the way, okay? And he started yelling at the store manager saying, "Hey, what are you guys up to? How dare you send coupons and emails to my teenage daughter offering her, baby clothes, baby foods? What's going on? Are you encouraging her to become pregnant?" So he was very upset. So store manager came and profusely apologized. He said, "Sorry, sir, must be some mistake at our side. We are sorry. We're going to stop those mailers immediately." And the guys go back and, find the father goes back home. He's fuming. 2 weeks later, he calls the store back. He says, "May I speak to the store manager?" And when the store manager comes online, he tells the store manager, "Sir, I apologize for yelling at you. I today found out my daughter is actually pregnant. And how did you know 2 weeks before I came to know?" And that's where the store manager explains to the father, saying, "Sir, at Target, we monitor consumer buying patterns. And when we see a female shopper starting to buy calcium, magnesium, and zinc supplements, we know she's getting closer to her delivery date. And then we trigger coupons and emails to the shopper, encouraging them to buy baby foods, baby clothes." And this is the power of analytics, that a computer was able to find out that the daughter is pregnant 2 weeks even before the father could find out. And again, I'm just using this example to show you the use case where the power of predictive analytics is really going to take the world by storm. It's already becoming a massive industry in itself. The last area is around thought leadership. And there, what I mean is by giving simple solutions. Now, there was this soap manufacturing company in Japan, which was shipping soaps in soap dish. Accidentally, one empty dish got shipped to a customer. Now, in Japan, this is a very big quality problem. In fact, the production manager got fired and he was almost going to commit harakiri, saying, how dare you get such a serious quality issue? And, the management team came together. They decided the design. They said, we are going to buy a $60,000 machine, which will have a robotic arm. The moment it detects an empty soap dish going on the assembly line, the robotic arm will come, pick it up and throw it in the dustbin. So this is how they solve the problem. The same thing happened in the state of Gujarat, where they had this soap manufacturing company. And same problem happened, where accidentally an empty soap dish got shipped to the customer. What did they do? They purchased 800 rupees fan. They put it on the assembly line. Empty boxes were getting blown away. And this is my point to you. The story I'm telling you is to reinforce the point. Solution need not be expensive. Simple solution can really solve. Again, you can put massive amount of automation and spend money and burn a lot of investment dollars. But end of the day, human intelligence definitely should prevail over artificial intelligence. And we have to look for solutions which are easy and which will really solve the basic issues. Finally, I want to share with you my last words of wisdom. A lot of people over the years have asked me, what career should we choose? What should we do to be a very rich and rewarding career? And the advice I give them, I will give to all of you. I tell them, be a nice human being. A lot of opportunities in this area and very little competition. With that, thank you very much for your attention. I appreciate the invitation. All the best, and back to you, Dev.
I think the closing note that, being a better person, being a good person is where we all lack, and that's where we need to turn around. I think even in an interview a couple of years down the line, Sachin Tendulkar had, said in an interview, saying that, so someone had asked, what do you want Sachin Tendulkar to become? So he's just like, you know what? If someone comes to me, says that, your son is a better person than a better cricketer, I think that's mission accomplished for me. And just like, as you mentioned, I think there's a lot of scope to be a good person out here. And that's how the whole world paves way for you. And that's just brilliant. And your idea of not using any jargons, I think, be positive, and the E stands for excellence is what we take away from this, right? It's, as you mentioned, don't think local. Yes, as our Honorable Prime Minister said, be vocal for local, but you can think global, right? So that's what we can do. And every day, new things coming out. Just for example, if I buy a mobile phone now, next time there's going to be a new edition. And that's how fast things are getting obsolete, outdated. And it's only and only because we need to be updated with times, right? And the other day, just like how you mentioned, right, the father getting to know about the pregnancy later, but getting a message, getting a mail that her daughter is pregnant. I think that's how it works, right? The analytics, as you mentioned, the consumer buying pattern. Just now, if I just go to Amazon and I look for a product, the next day, or rather a few minutes later, if I go to any social media platform, I'm going to get ad regarding the same. And that's how this works. And automation has solved so many business issues, how those issues. And with that, I think imagination is just our own limitation, is what I can say. And every day we are growing. And this is just beautiful. So I think we already have so many questions coming in. I just had a lovely time, listening to the insights about automation sector as well. So I think taking just one question, because we're running out of time, I think on a random basis, Tisha Pahuja asks, do you feel that the Indian education system, which didn't attune to the changing technological advancements, could be the reason for the major skill gap, especially in the IT sector?
Okay, Tisha, thank you for a good question. I mean, I know a lot has been talked about the skill gap, but it is, look, I mean, look at my background. I'm a mechanical engineer with specialization in marketing, and I started my career in software programming, went on to get into management, and today the only work I do is HR and finance. I have my CFO reporting to me, and I am a head of HR because we manage people. Our assets are people, and I have to report to the street, so I have to be on top of the numbers. Okay, so there is a gap in all of us. Okay, I was not trained to do the job that I'm doing today. This is part of the learning process. Okay, if you look at Larry Page, what did Larry Page say? It's not about knowledge. It's all about learning, because whatever knowledge you have today will be out of date tomorrow. Things are moving so fast. So my point, Tisha, is our ability to learn, pick up things. I mean, this is my 35th year in the industry, and I'm learning everything every day. Today I'm learning. I listen to Tarun's speech, I listen to Manisha's speech, I listen to Professor Vadia's speech. So we learn every day new things, okay? And so long as we are open to absorb and learn, definitely that's how the gap is up to us, how to quickly close. And again, I will tell you something I tell all my employees. You are CEO of your own career. How quickly you can adapt, how quickly you can learn is going to decide how successful you will become. Thank you. Back to you, Dev.
Thank you so much. I think that absolutely answers the question. And I suppose, personally speaking, I think we live in a country wherein we can get inspired. We can learn from a tea vendor, because you never know that he or she might become the prime minister of a country one day. So I think from every person that we meet, we're working with, there's something always to learn from. And I think, yes, with that, I think we need to cope up with the changes as well. So I think we can take one more question, and that would be, I think we can take Nandika's question. Do you feel that automation, even though millions are left unemployed, new technology does create new jobs, and can it create more jobs than the amount it will destroy?
I mean, look, I'm an eternal optimist. So obviously the answer from my side is yes. It is a positive trend. It is like if you rewind the clock, say 50 years back, we had no calculators. Okay, people were doing manual calculations. So when calculators came, it solved a lot of issues and you were able to do more productive work. Similarly, the word processor replaced the typewriter. Okay. Did people typists? Of course, typists, that community disappeared, but that's okay. It elevated people, humans, to do more enriched roles. You moved on to better and more high value added stuff. So that's again the same evolution that we are going through today. That's my view, Dev, and everybody, Nandita, because it's not that it's going to take away jobs. And here I will tell you something which I think it's slightly relevant, what Philip Kotler, the guru of marketing, talks about. If you don't take care of your customers, competition will. So suppose we do not embrace automation as a country or as a department or whatever. I mean, you got Israel, you got dozens of people waiting in the lines to give something which will enhance the customer value. So we will have to continuously think of that, and that's again going to benefit society, is going to benefit the economy, and it will actually create more jobs, although it sounds paradoxical, but that's my view. Back to you, Dev.
I think what you mentioned, the guru of marketing, Philip, if you don't serve the customer, the competition is. The other day, I was just having a conversation with my auto rickshaw driver, and he was just like, sir, ye Mumbai Metro aa rahi, hamara to sab kaam nikal jayega. So it's just like, so now you have the opportunity to say no to us. So now, obviously, we're going to be served by the competition here. So the Mumbai Metro gives us an ease here, but yes, at the same time, it's also going to generate employment there. And now, I don't think I'm the correct person here, but I think at the same time, the auto rickshaw walas are going to suffer a bit, but at the same time, employment is going to be generated in the metro sector. So I think I absolutely agree with you with this particular point. And I can't thank you enough, sir, for being over here. Thank you so much. And I absolutely love your approach wherein, no jargon words is what I follow through. And that's reached us directly to understand concepts which usually were, difficult, but the way you explained it to us, and also not stating any facts and just being like, what, you can do that on Google. You can look for the stats there. I'm going to share my experience, sir. And that's just, made us learn a lot of new things that way. So thank you so much, sir, for joining in. It was a pleasure having you here and a great learning process for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
It was very nice, Mr. Just to add something, like, the way you were smiling and the way you were so relaxed and like, something, a talk which was coming directly from the heart is like, of course, those zeros made a lot of difference. So that was an important thing, but it was really, really nice. And you, right from the beginning, I mean, the entire event, like, you were right there very much before time. That is something, a most important thing, which is a part of a discipline in the life of an entrepreneur. And that is what is the most important thing to be communicated to the audience. It's like, if you're committed, then you go by what your commitment is, and that is really, really amazing. And of course, sir, we will meet in Jai Hind now.
Sure.
Sure, we will meet in Jai Hind very soon under normalcy. So yeah.
Absolutely. I think 9,000 crore operating margin, and now that's just insane.
What zeros right?
9 zeros. Oh my God. I think I'm going to remember that all my life, that 1 billion has 9 zeros. And if next time, I think, Rakesh, if you come to a college, if you want to grill, I'm just going to raise my hand that, now I know how many zeros a billion has. So I think that's a takeaway. And I think on behalf of the college, I think being a student, I can say welcome to Jai Hind College, just like how Rakesh mentioned. Anytime soon, we can actually meet under normalcy. So thank you so much, sir, for joining in. And
yeah, can I log off now or?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Sir. Students, all the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye. So I think a fruitful session, and one quote that stays with me all my life. So there's this one book written by Shiv Khera that says, "You can win." And the title has a quote mentioned that it says that, winners don't do different things. They do things differently. So it's also playing with words, but it's also the matter of approach of how you go about it. And with that, I think I can't thank enough all the attendees who are here for such a great, insightful session. And now I'd like to invite Shilpa ma'am to take over.
Professor Shilpa had a bad throat. I don't know if she that's what she messaged me. Is she there right now?
I think she logged off, ma'am. I think, ma'am,
she has a very bad throat. So she said that I will not be able to speak. That's what she messaged me.
All right, no issue, ma'am. Ma'am, would you like to say anything before?
Yeah. So I think that was really a very nice session, and all the attendees, I'm sure, with all the talks we had, they all have a lot to learn from all the keynote speakers, whether Mr. Majumdar, Mr. Katyal, Ms. Manisha, and of course Mr. Khanna, all gave a lot of important inputs. I think next year we would like to have more startups from the attendees also who are attending and listening, because there are a lot to take away, a lot of key things which you have learned in terms of real life lessons and all. So that is very, very important. Do get connected with us if in case you have an idea and you want to work on it. In an incubation and accelerator center, we are supporting the ideas and we are working one-on-one also with the people, and we have a full-fledged team which is working in taking the ideas ahead. Of course, ECL Scale Hub team is there, but again, at a very specific level where we are taking our startup and hand-holding them is what we are doing, both for Jai Hind as well as outsiders also. So I think it's a time for the results. Siddharth?
Yes, ma'am, definitely. We can go ahead.
So who is going ahead with the results? Because that is an important thing. Huh?
Ma'am, would you be announcing the same?
Okay. So, so it's so there are, as I told you, we had around 122 startups, to be precise, who participated in the startup competition from India and other countries, out of which sorry, 25 startups went for the were selected for the semi-finals, and they were placed in different tracks. And there were judges who were mentors who were there, who were evaluating and reviewing the startups. So and I think see, before we go ahead with the results, it's very important for if they are there. So it's very important for all of you to understand it's not about winning, even if. So I have, so I mean, in my 18 years of my career in this field of entrepreneurship education, I've seen startups who have not won the competition but have done very well. So I think all of you who have started up are the winners, whatever level. And it's like, you know, you're getting reviewed by someone, it's because of certain parameters probably. And the process of competition or process of competition is not to say this one is better than this. It's all about, in the current scenario, probably this one has done little better, which probably you will do it in a later stage or in certain parameters. So those are the kind of factors which the evaluators look at it. But that's absolutely fine. Don't give up. Don't think like, you know, I mean, these are the places where to learn and see what areas you need an improvement all. And we are always open to support all these startups. But we have to take it to the next level. So we have to identify someone who at that specific situation has outperformed a little better, have performed over others. So before I started, I would also like to mention Ayushi, who has ensured that there are a lot of, that everyone across the country, and even it should break the geographical boundaries, and we should reach out to the people that if you have an idea, you're working on it, do apply. Virtually, it's absolutely possible. And you can come and present your venture. So Ayushi and full PR team work very hard to ensure that anyone who wants some support, they can apply for the Global Entrepreneurship Summit. So without taking much of a time, the startup which qualify for the final round from track 1 is Homzi, that is Yash Bachawat and Navam Kothari. Please give a applause in the form of, if you can do something like this, please do that on your screen if it's possible. Congratulations, Homzi team. From track 2, the second finalist, which second starter, which goes, the second finalist of the Global Entrepreneurship Summit 2021 is Agent, founded by Vanika. The third startup which goes in the finals is Aman Purwal and team, which is the name of the venture is, Ayushi, the name of the venture, one second, is I think Mom's Card. Yeah.
Yes, my Mom's Card.
Yeah. The fourth startup which goes in the finals is Dial 4242. Congratulations. And the last startup which is going to the finals is CanFem. So congratulations, all the startups who qualified, and congratulations to all the people who have started, because that's the most important journey. It is very easy to sit on the other side and say, oh, you haven't won, but it's very difficult to even go on that side and start. It's not that easy thing. So that it is, so if you have started, for me, you are winners because you have already crossed a milestone. Heartiest congratulations to all these startups. And I really, really want next year, or even later on also, next month also, that if you have an idea, what is stopping you, please go ahead and start. The country needs entrepreneurs right now. The country needs people who have better skills, and you cannot have only by sitting and listening. You will learn more when you do things. And trust me, think about anything which you have done by yourself, you have learned the most. So just do that. It's for your benefit and for the community and the society's benefit. That's it from my side. And I also want all of you to view the final presentation, because we have eminent jury members who are joining in from different places for the final startup competition. It is important for you to see how these startups present, how they are reviewed, and you have a lot of learnings for your own venture, which I'm sure you will definitely have in next few weeks or months, and we are waiting for that. Thank you very much. And I think now Aishi will be sending a feedback form. Yeah. Anything else you have to state?
Sent, ma'am.
So I think with this session, we had 4 different personalities, 4 different keynote speakers, and from each we've learned a lot more. So I think with Bhavesh sir, we took away that everything starts from nothing. From Manisha ma'am, that investment banking is flourishing right now. So we have all the opportunities to enter and explore and make a mark there. With Tarun sir, knowing that every day is a new trend with various with various things coming up on a daily basis, we need to be updated with trend. And lastly, with Rakesh sir, the no jargon approach with the smiling face all the time, that automation is the new normal. I think we can say that it's the new thing coming up. So all of us, I think, if most of us are students, I think it's our time to now shine. Somewhere down the line, just like Rakesh sir from Mithivai came in and just gave a keynote speaker, just spoke in the keynote speaker session. Somewhere down the line, I think when we become such successful people, and Rakhi ma'am could invite us to say a few words here, right?
Of course. Guys, on the spot, you need to applaud for the host of the session, because he is the person who was fueling the session and ensuring that the entire thing goes so smoothly. So thank you very much. And your smiling face, of course, we'll remember every time. And thank you very much, Dave, for doing such a wonderful hosting. And it was flawless. It was absolutely perfect. God bless you. We want you to become the world best host. And we say,
thank you so much.
Go for your passion and charge lot of money. Don't charge Jahin.
Jahin se ma'am kaha? Jahin se I can't charge a penny at all. So this has been wonderful. So I think somewhere down the line I could come as a keynote speaker later. So I just thinking positive for future. And I think all of us, not just me, I think the whole team, all the 400 people that are attending here, somewhere we could become successful for sure and be here. And I think you're always going to be there to polish our skills, and that's how we go about it in life. So thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, everyone. We all had a lovely time. So I think now we could sign off, right?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dave, for taking out the time. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. With that, we come to an end to our keynote speaker session.
So that's send me the link for the next session, 1:15.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, on. Thank you, everyone.
So see you all to the next couple of events that we have for the day. And with that, we come to an end to the keynote speaker session. Hope all of you had a wonderful time, an inspiring one. And with that, it's just like Rakhi ma'am said, we're looking forward to more startups coming in. And next year, hopefully, out of all the 122, I think 100 could be Jahin startups, right? So let's fingers crossed. Let's have fingers crossed. So thank you so much. This is Dave Khanna signing off. Stay safe, stay happy. Bye-bye. Take care.